afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the
annual Gasam week. It's an honor to be here today and to host this panel discussion. My name is Sinam Cham, a 6th-year medical student at the University of Cali Marrakech. Today with me, I have very incredible and amazing young people that are doing a great work when it comes to youth work here in Morocco and in the Gambia. And they'll be discussing with us today under the team Entrepreneurship and Good Governance, Youth and Future Leaders of Africa. And without wasting more time, I'll just allow them to introduce themselves individually, starting with my right hand. Ladies first.
Hello, my name is Manu Hydra. I'm the Executive Director and Founder of African Youth Architects. I'm very much honored to be here today with you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Usman El Kamra, a student of Scientific Research, Masters in Medical Biotechnology.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Malik Wood, the President of the Congregation of Gambia Students Union Abroad, and also the current Vice of the President.
Thank you very much to all of you for being here today with us.
We have another guest, but she couldn't be with us today. She is Dr. Iman Mali. She is the President of the Community of Saharan States. But she has prepared a
Video for us, and if the project is starts to work, we'll just play it for you guys at the end of the discussion. So without wasting more time, I'll just start with what you do. I will say that I'm a great fan of the work that you're doing. You're an inspiration to young people, and being the executive director of AYA, that's African Youth Architect. We'd like you to tell us a little bit about AYA. What is AYA all about? What work do you guys do? And where exactly was the inspiration to form this NGO comes from? Because I've learned that you started this NGO when you were a student here in Morocco, and it's not easy for a student here to balance your education and also to do extracurricular activities. We find it quite hard, so we'd like you to actually tell us how you start with all this.
Thank you so much, Sena. And once again, hi everybody. I'm also a Gambian student, but a private one. That's why I'm not very much familiar to the organization. Apologies for that, because I had that private students are mostly not associated with the Gambian students. Maybe so forth. So, Mr. President, maybe you should consider us also sometime. Okay. So, for African Youth Architects, for some of you that don't know much about our organization, I would like to talk from where we start from, where we are now, and where we are going to. So, the foundation started here in Morocco in 2017. That's where the original idea came from. That was my BSc here, because I came here in 2016. So, in 2017, we were in Morocco here, and then we feel like so many international students are here, and then sometimes there is not one problem to why we have lack of education, and there is no one problem why our continent is not developing. So we all come from different countries, so with our different perspectives, maybe we can have a similar question or different answers to one subject. So I came with the original idea, and then I shared with a few students. We were 7 in number. I was like, can we come up with something that we can work to enhance quality education and entrepreneurship for Africa? But the vision was to go global. Because if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to become a global firm. Not only to take the idea of starting where you are, but everything has to have a starting place. So we come with the idea to found an organization called African Youth Architects. Well, most of the time, an architect are people that build houses. But in our case, it's not to build houses, it's to build the minds of young people, to wake young Africans, how we can work together as one Africans with our different professional background to lift this continent up. So in 2018, we started the organization in the Gambia, and now the organization is headquartered in New York, thanks to our collaborative work. And when we come with the organization, we draft the constitution, and then we send it to different individuals here in Morocco to see whether the ideas really make sense. So when you send to some people, they're like, no, this is not good. And we send it to French people, we send it to English community, we send it to all the other different communities in Morocco. And they were like, somehow like the ideas too big. Why don't you start with Gambia? But my vision was like, Gambia is only 2 million people. And if we spend so many years thinking about this idea, what is the value if it's only going to benefit 2 million people? So, but the number one thing I always have in mind, environment is very important. You have to make sure you control the environment because you nobody without the environment. So wherever we start in this organization, I have to make sure Gambia benefit first. Sometimes it could be selfish, but Gambia benefit first. And my co-founder is a Congolese. He's now in the US. He was the former Gasam president in Tanzania. So he became the co-founder of the organization. Now we 2018 we went full force. But when you come as a young organization, and there are thousands of organizations in Africa, and sometimes we just have different names, but we have similar visions and we have similar missions. But how do you sell your idea and why should people invest in your idea? So that was a main point for us. How do we take it to the up and make be part of the market? So we said let's come with the Young African Leaders Awards. But the first was a rush. We come with the Young African Leaders Awards because we feel like young people spend too much time in Africa and doing so much of hard work. For example, people in this organizing committee putting all this event together, it takes a great person to sacrifice, to volunteer their time, to do something that they don't expect to be paid. So it was not easy to be able to put everything together. So we said, let's honor these young people. We come with the Young African Leaders Award, and then the award first take place in Gambia in September 2019. And when we come with the idea, we have no money. So this is where entrepreneurs really have to know. Sometimes you have a great idea, but you're waiting for the fund to do that. But your idea brings money. So when you put the idea on the paper, money really comes in. With the idea of Young African Leaders Awards to honor change makers in Africa with no money. And then we advertised it. Thank God the Gambia National Youth Council came in support. We got support from the biggest organization in Africa, Pan-African Youth Union. We were able to bring 30 young people across the African continent to come to Gambia to honor them for the change they're doing. And then our trophy became one of the best trophies in Africa. We honor young people with a golden trophy all through our imaginations. With doing all this, being a student, preparing for my thesis and everything, I go to a point that I told students like, you know, we are all going to school, but it doesn't mean that classes should stop you for everything. You can be going to school and you also working on something. Because if you working for a bachelor's degree in medicine, or you work in a bachelor's degree in nursing, or any field that you're working on, but you are only in being a student in the classroom, you know, putting effort into the field that you're working on. When you graduated, the job market is very limited. That the jobs are very limited in the market. It's like a challenge for you to get the job market. So it means you have to prepare yourself from now, be a multi-task person, and get so much skills in you. In this way, you can stand against your competitors in the job market and be very much known into what you're doing and put it in your effort. Because there was so many sleepless nights, and then sometimes you wake up and pray to God and think things are not going to go, but with hard work, we were able to make everything go. And in the process of the hard work, the more you research, you get lost in the internet, and then you came across so much information that makes you believe that maybe I'm only invested in classroom, but the world is bigger than here, because there is so much on the internet that you don't even have to pay. So when we got done with that, now we said let's do a curriculum research in the African continent. We started with Gambia in the year in December 2022. 1,000 children in Gambia will benefit of foreign child education, and we did. So we did not only want to fund the child's education because we believe that there was a CCF, so many funds in education in Africa. So we did a survey, 2-year research. Since 2020, we were doing research across the African continent, which also have to do a copy in other continents, how they do their education. Countries like Finland, Singapore, and Malaysia, how they've been able to become world stars in education. We're able to look into stars that they do, because there is no original idea. All the ideas have been taken. How do you steal from different ideas and make your originality out of it? And from all the research, we said funding the child's education alone is not a solution, but also to give them skills development. Because if we fund the child's education alone financially until they go to college or tertiary institution without no skills, it still doesn't make sense. So we try to partner with ministries of education to pull this project in 10 African countries in 2020, in this year. I mean, probably we will launch here in Morocco. 10 countries will benefit this project with 10,000 children across the African continent. So we think young people, we have the power. Sometimes we don't always have to wait for the government to do some of the things for us, but we can come with our ideas to the government to present it to them. And we renovated schools in Gambia. If we went to visit the school to see what problem they're having and how us young people can participate in these problems, we look into classrooms and see how the teachers are teaching, and then we realize that the pressure on teachers is too much. The pressure on teachers to help students to be brilliant, to really be part of the development of the country is very tough. So we come with a project called Education Promotion Program for Parents, and then we focus more on the rural Gambia. 700 parents were trained in Gambia how to actively engage and participate in the education of their child. And we also come with a program. We have an education fund account for every individual that is part of this project as a child to have an education service account. And this service account will be with them until they finish higher institution. If they want to become a business person, this fund will transfer to business if they want to continue higher education, because that's where most of the time we have financial challenges. The funds can continue there. So it doesn't mean that we just fund a child's education today and tomorrow there is nothing that is available for them to do. So if we do this, if 1,000 children were able to benefit this in a year, so we are really contributing to the development of the country. So this has been the thing.
Thank you very much, Fatih. That was a detailed explanation. You have said something very important, which is for a country to develop, we have to be selfless, and I think this is very important. We have to have our country at heart so that we can, work to develop it. And you have been working with entrepreneurs, and I would just like you to briefly tell us a bit about what entrepreneurship is all about, and also what are the first steps that one has to take when you want to act on an idea, or when you have a startup that you want to start. What are the first steps that you need to take?
Well, thank you so much, Anna, for that question. I think entrepreneurship can come in different forms, but to become an entrepreneur, your work ethic has to be good, number one, and you have to be a risk taker, and you have to be somebody who is not easily being swayed by your ideas, because sometimes you can have an amazing idea, you come to somebody who's being selfish to them, and the first thing that you will not have the family support, you will not have the friend support, and people will think sometimes you think too big and you are very much different. So as an entrepreneur, the first thing that should come to your mind, what is one thing you wanted to solve in the world? What do you wanted to do? What do you wanted to sell? So, and also, why should people invest in your ideas? Why this idea is important? Why should people put their time to this idea? When you find that out, how do you take it to global? That is your long-term plan. Or your short-term plan is to start where you are, but the goal is to be a global firm entrepreneur. And now, the location. What is the location? You have to do a feasibility study. What is one thing? Is this thing going to be a long-term thing? Because an idea is very important. One single idea can change your life. But also, the sustainability part of it. You can start something today, and the sustainability is very not there. But also, the idea could be good, and what is the sense if you don't have the right players? So you have to make sure you have the right players to be able to achieve the goal that you want to do. But first thing, you have to believe in the idea. No matter how it takes, you work hard on it. You also have to learn get a financial advisor, because most of the time they will tell you you need a financial advisor when you have money. But no, if you can afford it, get a financial advisor before you have money. If you can't afford it, there are so many institutions online that you can learn from on how you have to know a money language and also a business language. A business language is very much different from the English that we know. So these are some of the things that you really need to work on. And also personal branding. Because if you have an idea, you want to make a business or you want to take it to a next level, people want to know who is this individual. What is there for you? Your image has to be credible. You cannot just be anybody that when people see you, there is no trust in you. So I think this is some of the things. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much. I will just move on to you, Malik. It's an honor to have you here with us. Being the president of the Confederation of Gambian students abroad, you have been working with young people. And back at home in the Gambia, we know that there's this problem of unemployment when it comes to youth. I would just like you to maybe emphasize a little bit on the importance of entrepreneurship in tackling this problem of unemployment in the Gambia.
Thank you so much for that question. I guess it is very important as youth for us to think about that too, because it is quite clear that the obstacle or the crisis that we face as unemployment as youths, it cannot be solved by the old classroom system, like going for this white collar job alone. And for that being the reason, we also have to think big. We also have to think how to be independent, or how to even create jobs instead of only focusing on being job seekers. Though it is important for us to focus on our educations, but it's also important for us to think about how about now if things doesn't go out as planned, what am I going to do, or what am I going to say that this is what I achieve or this is what I create in my country. And that's why entrepreneurship is very important. And just to emphasize on the point that entrepreneurship starts with the idea, that is the vision. And this is one of the main pillars of entrepreneurship. You have to have this idea. What, like, just stated, what problem do I want to solve? Because there are a lot of problems in our societies. If you look around in the Gambia, there are things that we can solve. And right now, as human beings, what we want is comfort. So how can I solve these problems, or how can I create comfort for human beings? If we brainstorm on this, there are a lot of things that we can become creative and also think about, to have an idea about this entrepreneurship. And the second pillar is about motivation, because having the idea alone, yes, it is important, but it's not enough. You have to think about long run. And I also have to say this, so I would also like to say this, about, I can see most of us as young leaders or entrepreneurs, most of the time we focus on the instant gratification instead of the long term. What I can get right now, and though it is important what I can get, but in the long run, how are you going to sustain this? What I can afford in the long run. I can give you an example for a very powerful company right now, let's say Amazon, for instance. They can lose millions, or they can invest millions just to make sure that they win this market space, I can say. For instance, when they wanted to acquire Pampers in 2009, the owners refused, and they say, okay, though you refuse, now what we are going to do is to make sure we put some benefits to every mother who is using these Pampers. They were losing millions at that moment, but at the end of the day, within 3 months, they forced Pampers to sell this company. Now they control the entire market sphere. So that is how we should not focus about only what we can get right now as entrepreneurs, or what are the profit that we can make right now, or what we can explore right now, but in the long run, how is this going to be beneficial? And thinking about this, it will help us a lot when it comes to national development. It will help us a lot to be independent. Even with job, we can also have our own side business or our own side development or things that we develop while we are also working for the government. It doesn't mean that once you are an entrepreneur, that is it, that is enough. You don't have to do anything else. That is just a myth that people have. And the last point is about resources. Most of the time we say that I will wait until I have money and I will become entrepreneurship. Sorry, I will become an entrepreneur. That is not the case. I can say, for me, being an entrepreneur is more about not only creating money, but creating value. And that value, though you need the resources, but just, I'm writing on something. If you put your ideas in the paper, trust me, the funds will come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think entrepreneurship is a way that we can actually reduce the unemployment rate in our country. Coming to you, Usman Kamara, being in the medical field, being a student in medical biotechnology. Most of the time when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's mostly limited to students that are doing commerce or in the arts field. I would like you to emphasize a little bit into medical entrepreneurship. How can this actually help in the development of our healthcare system?
All right, thank you very much. Entrepreneurship, I think, Okay. Entrepreneurship is something very, very important when it has to come to the development in a particular circumstance. Looking at the nature of our societies, either our country, Gambia, we have a very, very minimal economy to push all our development agendas. The central government cannot push everything at a go, then the private sector has to do something. Bigger economies around the world, you see, they're developing immensely because the private sector is doing more. You just have the central government to do the policies and then regulating the private sector to create a better space for them. But referring to our circumstances like that of Gambia, it's not the case. The private sector, there is high exploitation there, no proper control on the system from the central government. Then the government itself is not doing as what it's supposed to do. That is our case, but how do we move forward from there? Then there it comes to citizens to take up responsibilities on how do we find solutions to ourselves. That's where entrepreneurs come in. And being an entrepreneur, as they say, the not student of a business or whatsoever, I know the most basic foundation is to have the correct ideas, that you must believe in yourself to create the standard that you have to move forward on. Relatively to the health sector in the Gambia, we have a central government overseeing health ministry that is really not fit for purpose. We have a high cost of health care system in the Gambia with quality service. But how do youths and entrepreneurs come into play in this? If you move around healthcare systems around the world, you see private clinics, private hospitals that they are doing immensely more than what the central governments are offering. That is because people who have their minds, they try to investigate on ideas. How many private clinics are in Gambia? There are not many. Even those that are there, how are they regulated? We have seen recently so many flows reaching the online videos on how patients are being cared of, or how laboratories mix up results and stuff like that. Then it becomes a problem. But as Malik said, it has to do with quality as well. Do we just want to create a business just to serve our own interests and economical purposes, or we want to put services to the people? I think in that sense, we have to correlate the topic. I think the topic is something new, good governance. Good governance always has to yield positive results in the society. Entrepreneurs should bring in ideas and businesses that will yield something positive to the society, not just for their economic purposes. So, looking as we are over 57 years of independence, we cannot have a proper healthcare services by the central government. So why not do we think in the private sector? Entrepreneurs have also invest in. Do we have to find research labs in the country that can do research on the basic diseases, infections that are in the country, to find solutions to them, to tackle them, or basically more understanding and provide more data to the force defense, the nurses and the doctors. They can be well informed by our scientists. When you look at Africa in the medical sector, you see most of our situations have been diagnosed away. They come to Africa, collect samples, even diseases that are not happening in Europe, but they will come here as, throwing carbon on Africa, do some research on our parts that are affecting us, and then they still share that data results that are still expensive. We don't create our own medical stuffs. Those are all business sectors. Medical biotechnology recently, it has bigger space in the medical sector around the world, just because it has an innovation, you do your research and then sell products. There's a lot of money in it. A single company in Africa that can invest in something that is globally benefiting can yield a lot of economy and then at least solve a lot of problems in Africa. So I think it's high time we try to look at privatization of some of our healthcare systems, and that can only come around through entrepreneurship.
Okay, just to add what I was saying about health sector, it's not like, because most of the time we say that entrepreneurship is all about business. And recently, just a few months ago, when we had this problem in the Gambia about this sniper issue, we have to go all the way to Senegal just for testing. If people have standard labs in the Gambia in this problem, how many medical students do we have out there? If you put these ideas in the paper, there are a lot of people who are really ready to invest in this. But how will you formulate this idea? How will you formulate this idea to attract investors? Because it is sad to see that our own problems, we cannot even find what is the cause unless we go out there and we base sort of resources in there. And this is all in this medical field. So entrepreneurship is not all about just buy and sell. Though you buy and sell, but it's not only about communities that you buy and sell. It's also like that.
Thank you so much, Malik, for that. I think there's always this problem when it comes to the health sector in our country. I always complain about it because I see people going to Dakar or other places for treatments for very simple things that we could have solved in our own country. So I think going into entrepreneurship can solve a lot of these problems. Fatu, I will just come back to you. You've been an entrepreneur and working with entrepreneurs also. What are some of these challenges that one should actually look forward to or that one can face while being an entrepreneur?
I would also like to add to Mr. Camera, because last week we were in Russia. We had the opportunity to be in the Russian Technological University. And inside the Russian Technological University, what we studied there last week, it was because medical students that the COVID-19 has turned the healthcare sector to a new dynamic. So which means that they also are having some similar problems that we have, but it's a vast country in terms of technology. So in this technological university, everything is about robotics and biodiversity. What they do, students themselves don't wait for the government. Students build the duplicated blocks that look like robots and make robotic materials that can doctors in scanning and order make the job really easy for doctors. So sometimes I feel like we have so many problems in our countries, but also us the young people, we complain too much and wait so long because we feel like the problem has been stagnant and we can't do nothing about it. So those students, instead of waiting for the government to do something about their lives, they came together with their own knowledge to build these robots, and robots is doing everything for their institution. And we also have the chance to go to an entrepreneurship city that where people should come from. In this entrepreneurship city in Russia, it's like a city when you say a robot, but the city is only for entrepreneurs. Anybody with an entrepreneurship mind, a chance is given to go to the city. For example, I will give a place like Uganda, like Bushubi. Like the Bushubi is only for entrepreneurs. They have their own banks, they have their own everything. So government is really impacting and supporting these people. So government have a really big role when it comes to supporting young entrepreneurs in the country, because entrepreneurship really grows the economy and also leads too much employment to young people. Because Africa is filled with so much diaspora. When we graduate, we don't want to go back because we feel like that's nothing for us, and also there's not decent salaries. So if government and entrepreneurship come together and then we have the students in the middle, I think we will be able to boost our economy and so much problems will be solved in our communities.
Yeah, I think we set same opinions when it comes to government doing something. But it has also has to depend on the environment, how it's for instance, Morocco here are all out, right? There was some instances to certain machines, but it's like the lab was put on the government to bring it to those machines, it's part of the bad. But it's like most of us were biting the medical biotechnology. We are familiar with the concept of how those machines work. So we can easily go back and do marketing. That was accepted. That is a political goal of the I saw it was the fault. But that is not the case of the Gambia. For instance, when you go to the University of the Gambia, life science students, biological students, always you know you have a microscope. How many of us can afford a microscope for you to be able to do something in your life? It becomes a problem. That is why we have to find the central government to put in some of those places. You are encouraging us to be innovative, but innovative is starting from what? That is not there. We will keep on blaming young people are always requesting for things that they do not do for themselves. Let's see how many of us can have access to loans in the Gambia. If you and the pros, there are a lot of new entrepreneurs in the Gambia who have some minds, some ideas. But when you want access finance to start it was a problem. A simple loan in Gambia, they ask you for the lease. How many of us have those properties to be able to secure it? It's not all the time. You can have an idea on that paper, but you need something to start on. With an economy that's so vast as Gambia, everything is way. It's not like it's a more of blaming. That's true. That is the syndrome is part of it. We always want everything to be done for us, but we have this so many rules. Some people in Gambia want to do something, but they can't. They gotta start on top because there's no need to start.
So that's what I was saying is like Gambia is losing so much to diaspora because there is less hope in the country. But also that have the chance to go around the world and we get open our eyes to some certain developments and how Morocco do their system or how the other countries do their system. Can we also come together to come with something that we can create to implement or recommend to our government if they're done, or we can do it by ourselves? Is this also not possible by young people? Because for me, if I visit the Gambia, Gambian hospital, I feel like less is being here. If you visit the AfriMed or the Medicare, you feel like it's only the building, but these are still STEM people and materials are lacking. So what could we do about it? I think sometimes it's also a question about us. It's a big question, what us the young people could do. I think we really have a very much big power. Sometimes we don't know. You being in the biodiversity field and then you see there are so much in Morocco here, you can come with something because that's why we have NGOs. NGOs always go against the government. You feel like the government should do this thing and they are not doing it, and then you think this is how it's supposed to be done. And when we come with some of our recommendations and we do our effort, maybe we could solve these problems. I will give you an example because my organization, we wanted to do more on education and entrepreneurship, but education more. But we feel like African teachers, most of the time, we're technologically backward. And also, what we could do about this, we come with a project. And this project, we partner with institutions in Finland because we feel like Finnish education is very powerful. So how do we influence the Finnish education system into our curriculum? And now in every year, we're selecting 12 teachers in different, like 10 countries in Africa where our projects will be implemented. These teachers will go to Finnish universities, University of Tampere or University of Helsinki in Finland, where they will have 2 weeks of training in these institutions in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Gambia and also the Gambia Teachers Union to give us support in that. And if these teachers come back to Gambia, they will be able to organize seminars where they can share their knowledge to other teachers. If we do this, maybe we can solve so many problems in our environments.
Thank you very much. I think the discussion is going very interesting, and if you guys have any questions, you can just jot it down and we'll take questions after, at the end of the discussion. I would like to come to you, Usman. We have been talking about the government, anyway. When we talk about governance, it's like decision making and the implementation of these decisions. And most of the time when we talk about this, the first thing that comes to our mind is the government. But I think there are other actors when it comes to governance. I would like you to tell us a bit about these actors, these other actors, and also their roles and their importance in the development of a country.
All right, thank you very much. When you talk about actors in governance, to me, I wanted to look at it in a very broad perspective, from the mindset of the parliament mechanism and downwards. To me, the African development agendas, they are not only controlled by Africans. There is foreign intervention across from the world, because a peaceful Africa and a united Africa that is set to move forward is subject to be global, anywhere. So they must keep Africa at bay for them to move forward. There they came with this World Bank funds, IMF. I don't see the need for them, because when you come, this is a continent that is the most richest continent in the globe, but it's still poor. It's because it's poorly managed. We are poor. Now that comes to governance. We have a system of governance in place, but I think the broader perspective that we should be looking at it. For far too long, our governments are not really doing anything, and we still keep on clapping for them and then still maintaining them in position. Jawara, for instance, has been in Gambia for 30 years. And then, if you look at history has shown us, they were so much satisfied that they brought independence. They celebrated gaining independence for too long instead of focusing their independence to structure the country and something. That was a mistake on their part, based on my understanding from history. They celebrated independence for too long instead of focusing on work. Then came Germany, seized our government to a dictatorship. Instead of respecting the people who are voting for you, who are paying for you, feeding you, you disrespect them, even though there are some elements of development he did, but it was a later case. He privatized our economy. Corruption was centralizing himself. The country wasn't going. That's also bad governance. Then came Barrow. Him alone is going to seek for a lot of loans that is increasing our country's debt to $75 billion. If we divide it to our 2 million population now, how much of us is going to pay for that? You are sinking this future economy, sinking country. There is no hope for Gambia for now, as we speak. So long, we will not. That is the reality. That is the reality. Because the country cannot develop based on sinking notes every time you are building roads and less quality. A $52 million project went into Ghana in Banjul. The city has some last week ago. That is because there was no proper governance. There was no respect for rule of law. There were no procurement laws were followed when it comes to the seeking of that project. That is bad governance aspects. But who are the people responsible? It's the people themselves. We are senior representatives of our parliament. Where the projects were being approved, did they follow those? Did they read the entire project? When the supplementary budgets were coming in, we need $10 billion for the bundle projects finance to continue. They wasted that. Were they making the checks and balance whether the system was good? But those are the people we decide to send there to represent our interests. Then where the problem comes in is we the people. That is why they say the government is the people, by the people and for the people. We send them there to represent our interests. They are us, and they are doing something for us. We're still comfortable with it. So the problem here is, I believe, is the mindset of the people. That is where we're supposed to orient our focus on the entire Africa. How do we sensitize our people that the power belongs to the people? We own that we can decide what we want for this continent to move in whatever direction we wish. It has to be with our people. I think when you look at ourselves here in this side here, you talk to some people, they will tell you this is politics. I'm not part of it. I'm a scientific research student. It has nothing to do with politics. But politicians are designing for us every day. They are designing for my father who is in Gambia, who is getting old, but his healthcare system is in cancer President Barrow and borders. And he's still paying taxes. It doesn't make sense to me as a young guy. I don't think it should make sense for any one of us. So it's high time, with the exposure some of us get outside, to try to culminate those things together and run back home and try to think in a different direction. The normalcy, the usual way of doing things as if you learn us anything, I think it's high time we build our sense of consciousness as youth, as part of the thing that we can try to think differently to move Gambia.
Thank you very much, Usman. I think the problem with Gambia is more of the time when we put these people in certain positions, they think that they're doing a favor to us. They don't know that we're actually paying them to do that work. So if we go back to accountability, taking these people into account, I think a lot of things are going to change. Coming to you, Malik, you have been working with young people, and when we talk about the characteristics of a good governance, is we have one of it being participatory, and I think this is quite lacking when it comes to young people in Africa. I just want you to emphasize on the importance of young people taking part in governance to change things and to bring development.
Thank you. Yes, of course, I would just like to talk about what the point that Usman stated here. That is, there is no hope in Uganda. I agree with that. I believe there is hope. You can see, here with the architects like the young African architects. This shows that we are thinking, and this, as he stated here, is about building our mindsets. And also make a point that it is all about the problem of us having this mindset that we can do this, or we have the power. So I believe with people like, also with organizations like yours, there is a lot of hope in Uganda, and we see in this bright forum here. Well, coming to your question, including young people, when it comes to decision making, it's not merely just.
Bonjour tout le monde, donc je suis Iman El-Maji, je suis présidente de l'initiative jeunesse de la CNSA au Maroc. Je suis également doctorante en sciences économiques et en même temps je suis lauréate d'un master spécialisé en économie et gouvernance. Donc je tiens à m'excuser tout d'abord de ne pas pouvoir venir aujourd'hui. Et je tiens à remercier l'association des étudiants gambiens au Maroc pour l'invitation. Et je tiens à leur féliciter également et à féliciter le comité d'organisation pour le choix en fait du sujet. Ce sujet qui constitue une problématique pour notre jeunesse africaine et qui est toujours un sujet d'actualité et de débat également. Donc en tant que lauréate de master économie gouvernance et en tant que doctorante en économie, donc je vais me focaliser dans mon intervention sur le concept gouvernance, tout en liant ce concept avec la culture, avec l'entrepreneuriat, mais également la culture entrepreneuriale. Voilà, donc je vais commencer par essayer de donner une définition au concept gouvernance. ce concept qui en fait, la définition de ce concept constitue en elle-même une problématique. C'est difficile de donner une définition exacte à la gouvernance, mais on va essayer en fait de cadrer ce concept dans un ensemble de mots-clés qui peuvent donner une image plus claire sur ce grand concept qui est la gouvernance. Donc la gouvernance, il désigne un ensemble de décisions, de règles et de pratiques visant à assurer le fonctionnement optimal d'une organisation. Donc, j'essaie de donner une définition de le domaine entrepreneurial, ainsi que les organes structurels chargés de formuler ces décisions, règles et pratiques, de les mettre en œuvre et d'en assurer le contrôle. Donc, le concept de gouvernance s'applique à tous les niveaux d'organisation, privée, publique, locale, régionale, nationale et internationale. Via les rôles joués par ces acteurs que je viens de citer, ces acteurs de la gouvernance que je viens de citer et d'expliquer, on peut résumer le rôle de la gouvernance dans une entreprise en 4 mots-clés: décision, planification, gestion, contrôle. D'une manière plus détaillée, définition d'une stratégie et des moyens de sa mise en œuvre, identification des risques, mise en place et évaluation et de leur gestion, utilisation des ressources en responsabilité, utilisation en respect des intérêts des parties prenantes et prise en compte de leur point de vue dans la conduite des stratégies, et évaluation du niveau de réalisation des objectifs et correctifs éventuels pour y parvenir. La gouvernance a des principes, a des piliers à respecter pour qu'on puisse effectivement la mettre en place au sein d'une organisation. Donc, chaque entreprise ou organisation doit définir elle-même les règles qu'il suivra pour mettre en application une bonne gouvernance. Cependant, une bonne gouvernance, se construit sur la base des principes reconnus et universels. Il est important de s'assurer que ces principes anime les règles spécifiques suivies par l'entreprise. Donc, ces principes sont l'indépendance des administrateurs. Donc, les membres du conseil d'administration d'une entreprise ont la responsabilité de voir à son bien-être et à sa pérennité. Les administrateurs réellement indépendants ont les coudées franches pour protéger leurs intérêts généraux les intérêts généraux de l'entreprise. L'indépendance doit notamment s'exprimer par le recrutement d'administrateurs qui n'ont aucun lien avec les dirigeants ni aucune relation d'affaires avec l'entreprise. Deuxième principe, c'est l'intégrité. Alors, le conseil doit s'assurer que l'entreprise et tous ses dirigeants respectent les lois et les règles en vigueur. Il est responsable du respect de l'éthique, de la santé et de la sécurité des employés. Alors, la reddition, troisième principe, la reddition des comptes. Donc, la reddition des comptes, les administrateurs doivent rendre des comptes aux actionnaires ainsi qu'aux parties prenantes également, c'est-à-dire le public, le client, les fournisseurs et la communauté en général. Donc, le conseil est responsable de la conformité de l'entreprise. L'intégrité, alors la planification stratégique, quatrième principe. Le rôle fondamental du conseil d'administration, comme on vient de citer tout à l'heure dans la question qui concerne les acteurs de la gouvernance. Donc, le rôle de conseil d'administration est d'assurer le succès et la pérennité de l'entreprise. Le conseil doit questionner et débattre du plan stratégique conçu et proposé par la direction de l'entreprise en vue d'en approuver la version définitive. Puis, le conseil doit s'intéresser et suivre activement le déploiement de cette stratégie. La transparence. Donc, les entreprises ne peuvent plus se contenter de communiquer uniquement avec les actionnaires, mais ils doivent désormais faire preuve d'ouverture et de transparence avec toutes les parties prenantes, avec son environnement externe également, donc y compris le public, ses clients et ses fournisseurs et la communauté. Donc là, on ne va pas dire que l'entreprise doit communiquer des choses confidentielles de son travail, en fait, qui sont internes, mais avoir une communication avec le public, adopter une stratégie marketing, adopter une stratégie de communication externe avec le grand public. Le sixième principe, c'est l'équité et l'équilibre. Donc l'époque où un conseil d'administration réunissait des membres de la famille et des amis du dirigeant est révolue. Les administrateurs doivent être représentatifs de l'actionnariat et des parties prenantes. Donc le conseil doit faire une grande place à la diversité, à commencer par celle des femmes qui demeurent toujours trop peu nombreux dans les conseils d'administration. Alors le septième principe, c'est le respect de l'environnement. Le respect de l'environnement, là, c'est les législateurs, ils sont devenus très sévères au sujet de l'environnement. Une bonne gouvernance tient compte de la responsabilité de l'entreprise. Et là, on parle de la responsabilité sociale et sociétale de l'entreprise. Donc, le dernier principe, c'est la flexibilité. Les principes, les concepts et les bonnes pratiques de gouvernance doivent être flexibles selon le propre de chaque société. Ces principes doivent donc être adaptés à un contexte d'une société d'État, d'une université, d'un organisme sans but lucratif, d'une société cotée en bourse, d'une société, quoi que ce soit à l'organisation dont on parle. Donc ces principes de gouvernance, ils doivent être flexibles à l'environnement et au contexte de cette organisation. Alors, il y a deux niveaux d'application de la gouvernance, en fait, dans le monde entrepreneurial. Il y a le niveau interne, donc qu'on vient d'analyser, c'est le niveau structurel de l'entreprise, ce sont les acteurs internes de l'entreprise, et c'est l'environnement interne de l'entreprise. Mais il y a également l'environnement externe, donc là, on va parler de la gouvernance territoriale. La gouvernance externe, ça veut dire l'environnement externe de l'entreprise, parce que l'environnement externe de l'entreprise impacte la performance de l'entreprise, bien entendu. Alors la gouvernance, parce que en fait la gouvernance réfère au processus de prise de décision sur les différentes affaires qui affectent la vie locale la vie locale des citoyens et qui mettent en scène trois grandes catégories d'acteurs. Il y a les pouvoirs publics et le pouvoir public et ses élus. Il y a le pouvoir économique et les entrepreneurs du secteur privé et la société civile. Donc selon la dynamique d'acteurs qui s'institue entre ces trois grandes forces animant la vie locale, la participation des trois grands acteurs locaux à la définition des enjeux locaux de développement est au cœur de la nouvelle gouvernance partenariale. Donc on parle là de la gouvernance partenariale parce que il doit y avoir une coordination, un partenariat entre ces acteurs que je viens de citer, les élus locaux, le pouvoir politique, en fait le pouvoir économique, les entrepreneurs et la société civile également. Donc la gouvernance partenariale ou la prise de décision porte sur des objectifs qui ne sont pas imposés mais convenus entre ces différents acteurs. Donc on peut dire alors que la liaison entre la gouvernance et l'entrepreneuriat se résume dans le fait que les dynamiques entrepreneuriales sont à rapprocher des dynamiques régionales et spatiales qui intègrent les facteurs locaux, participant à la distinction et à la différenciation territoriale. D'un côté, on peut considérer que l'entrepreneuriat participe à la construction d'un territoire et entretient sa dynamique en renouvelant le système productif et d'un autre côté, on peut considérer que grâce à une gouvernance partenariale, les acteurs publics et privés rendent leur territoire compétitif en mobilisant leurs ressources et ainsi entrepreneuriat et gouvernance territoriale et partenariale doivent entrer en synergie. Il s'agit d'améliorer sans cesse la coordination et la coopération en transgressant les frontières et en décloisonnant les compétences. Afin de mettre en œuvre les principes et les piliers du concept de la gouvernance au sein d'une entreprise, on a besoin bien entendu d'un ensemble d'acteurs qui vont veiller sur effectivement la mise en place de la gouvernance au sein d'une organisation. Donc, les acteurs de la gouvernance, ils diffèrent selon le niveau d'organisation. Mais puisqu'on parle ici et aujourd'hui dans ce panel de l'entrepreneuriat, donc on va se focaliser sur le cas des entreprises. Alors tout d'abord, la gouvernance des entreprises est appliquée au monde de l'entreprise. La notion en fait de gouvernance et regroupe les modalités de décision, de planification, de gestion, mais de contrôle également. Donc la gouvernance d'entreprise, il s'appuie sur une articulation des pôles de décision, les actionnaires, les dirigeants, etc., formalisés par l'interaction des parties prenantes au sein de différentes instances, conseil d'administration, conseil de surveillance, etc. Donc de manière plus détaillée, les acteurs de la gouvernance d'entreprise sont, premièrement, on parle de l'entrepreneur. Donc l'entrepreneur qui est considéré comme le moteur de l'activité en fait économique. L'entrepreneur qui est un aventurier, qui est avide de nouveautés, donc qui crée des richesses par l'introduction d'innovations sur le marché. Donc cette notion, en fait, ce concept d'entrepreneur qui aujourd'hui a besoin d'être relativisé à fortiori dans le contexte économique et social actuel. Donc le conseil d'administration qui est le deuxième acteur, considéré deuxième acteur de la mise en œuvre de l'entrepreneuriat dans une entreprise. Donc le conseil d'administration remplit dans le cadre de la gouvernance classique une fonction principalement disciplinaire. Alors avec les nouvelles théories cognitives, actuellement, il n'est plus question de se limiter à la seule relation actionnaire-dirigeant, approche actionnaire, ou à la relation dirigeant-partie prenante, approche partenariale. Le rôle de l'actionnaire va bien au-delà du simple rôle d'investisseur financier. Donc, il est effectivement porteur d'une collection de savoirs et de compétences qui peuvent être valorisées par les entrepreneurs, parfois d'une expertise qui peut leur conférer un avantage concurrentiel. Le conseil d'administration peut alors promouvoir des stratégies de développement et d'apprentissage organisationnel dans les entreprises grâce à des membres actifs et productifs, bien sûr. Il y a également le troisième acteur qui est le Business Angels, les BA. Donc les BA sont des investisseurs, sont des personnes physiques qui placent leurs capitaux personnels dans des entreprises innovantes. Donc, cela signifie qu'ils peuvent intervenir dans le management et dans la stratégie de l'entreprise. Ils suivent aussi de près les projets d'innovation et de création de valeur. Les BA ou bien les Business Angels sont pour la plupart d'anciens entrepreneurs dotés d'une expertise professionnelle reconnue dans leur domaine d'investissement. Donc, ils prodiguent des conseils aux jeunes entrepreneurs et leur offrent leur réseau relationnel. Donc, ils établissent un climat de confiance avec les dirigeants et apportent leur soutien sous forme de conseils, notamment lors des réunions du conseil d'administration ou de surveillance. Alors, dans ce cas, les BA se distinguent aussi par des préoccupations au-delà de l'aspect scientifique ou financier. Leur rôle ne se limite pas au seul contrôle disciplinaire seulement des dirigeants. Ils doivent siéger dans le conseil d'administration. Leur entrée dans le capital leur autorise précisément à s'engager directement dans les décisions stratégiques de l'entreprise. Alors, comme j'ai dit au début de mon intervention, l'entrepreneuriat constitue une problématique majeure pour la jeunesse africaine. Également, la jeunesse africaine souffre d'un ensemble de phénomènes comme le chômage, par exemple. Donc, la question qui se pose à ce stade, comment l'entrepreneuriat peut réduire le taux de chômage en Afrique? Donc, selon l'Union africaine, bien l'Union africaine y reconnaît que l'entrepreneuriat, sans être à même de régler tous les problèmes des jeunes, apparaît comme une solution durable à la crise de l'emploi en Afrique. Selon l'organisation continentale, l'entrepreneuriat est un moteur clé de la transformation économique structurelle envisagée dans l'agenda 2063, avec le potentiel de créer des millions d'emplois En cela, l'entrepreneuriat constitue une piste prometteuse pour tirer pleinement profit du dividende démographique. Avec 11 millions de jeunes qui devraient normalement entrer sur le marché du travail chaque année au cours de la prochaine décennie, selon des estimations de la Banque mondiale, il devient de plus en plus urgent de développer la capacité de l'Afrique à absorber, former et intégrer cette main-d'œuvre croissante largement confinée au secteur informel et éviter que des générations entières ne soient marginalisées. Donc, les politiques et investissements pour soutenir l'entrepreneuriat des jeunes en Afrique devraient apporter des solutions efficaces aux problèmes actuels du côté de l'offre et de la demande du marché du travail. L'expérience depuis les indépendances a démontré que les secteurs traditionnels, publics et privés, ne peuvent résoudre le problème de l'emploi des jeunes en Afrique. En effet, alors que le secteur public ne peut absorber toute la demande, le secteur le secteur privé, dans son état actuel en Afrique, demeure un secteur majoritairement informel. Donc, avec son lot d'emplois précaires dans les pays groupe Afrique, par exemple, hormis 6 pays, la part de travail précaire parmi les emplois disponibles surpasse celle du travail décent. Donc, le travail précaire atteint des niveaux extrêmement élevés dans la plupart des pays du groupe, avec en tête le Niger et le Burkina Faso 93%, les Comores et le Tchad 92%, le Bénin 90%, tandis que l'île Maurice enregistre le taux le plus bas avec 20%. Donc s'il faut en fait convenir que le secteur privé est la réponse pour le développement de la stabilité économique en Afrique, il devra subir une véritable transformation pour générer des emplois décents et de bonne qualité. La jeunesse africaine a besoin d'un secteur privé novateur et dynamique qui serait construit par les jeunes eux-mêmes et qui deviendrait le moteur de la transformation économique dont le continent a tant besoin pour ajouter de la valeur à ces immenses richesses naturelles. L'entrepreneuriat des jeunes s'inscrit dans cette logique, façonnée par la technologie, l'innovation et le numérique, autant de perspectives qui permettent de catalyser et d'accélérer la croissance économique.